Hey there, you looking kinda cute. Please consider subscribing and check out our Patreon for more. Enjoy the video. Bert gazed at his reflection in the vanity mirror as his mother carefully brushed his sandy blonde hair. At 12 years old, he was used to this morning routine by now. His mom meticulously styling his hair, dabbing a bit of her floral perfume on his wrists, and picking out a nice outfit for him to wear to school. Most boys his age would balk at such treatment. But oddly, Bert didn't mind. In a way, he actually enjoyed this special time with his mom each day before rushing off to the noise and chaos of middle school. As she put the finishing touches on his hair, Bert's mom smiled at him in the mirror. "There, don't you look handsome? The girls at school won't be able to resist you." She winked playfully. Bert blushed and fidgeted with the hem of his teal button-down shirt, one of the many stylish pieces his mom had picked out for his wardrobe. He knew his mom had always longed for a daughter to dote on and share girl time with. As an only child, and a son at that, Bert ended up filling that role to some degree. His earliest memories were of his mother brushing his hair, dressing him up, and letting him play with her makeup. She treated him like the daughter she never had. Over the years, his mom continued including him in traditionally feminine activities, watching romantic comedies together, giving him manicures, taking him clothes shopping. To the outside eye, it may have seemed unusual, but to Bert, it was just the way things were. His father, an airline pilot, was rarely home, so it was usually just him and his mother. As he got older, Bert started to realize most boys didn't do the kinds of things with their moms that he did. When his guy friends came over, he felt embarrassed about the floral bedspread in his room and the sweet vanilla scent that clung to him from his mom's perfume and lotions. He worried they would make fun of him for being a mama's boy. But he never voiced these concerns to his mother, not wanting to hurt her feelings. He knew how much she cherished their special bond. Middle school introduced a host of new anxieties and pressures. Bert became acutely aware of how different he seemed from the other boys, with their scuffed sneakers, sports jersey collections, and macho posturing. He felt like an outsider in the locker room, uncomfortable with the crass jokes and roughhousing. More and more, he found himself gravitating towards his female classmates, who were easier to talk to. He admired their cute outfits and accessories, secretly wishing he could wear glittery ballet flats and headbands like the girls did. The older Bert got, the more he felt torn between the interests and habits his mother had instilled in him and the desire to fit in with his male peers. On the surface, he tried to adopt the required bro persona, talking about sports, censoring and belching, slouching in his seat. But inside, those typically masculine behaviors felt alien to him, like an uncomfortable costume he had to wear. Privately, in the safety of his room or hanging out with his mom, Bert could drop the charade and just be himself, paging through fashion magazines, experimenting with hairstyles, indulging in spa treatments and chick flicks without judgment. Those girl times with his mother became an oasis, a safe haven where he didn't have to pretend or wear a mask. As Bert navigated the minefield of adolescence, he found himself increasingly drawn to all things feminine. When his mom was out, he would sneak into her room to try on her lip gloss and high heels. He marveled at how pretty and confident he felt when he looked in the mirror, like he was finally expressing his true self. These secret explorations both thrilled and scared him. What did it mean that he liked wearing women's clothes and makeup? Was something wrong with him? He scoured the internet for information, reading articles about gender identity and expression. The more he learned, the more his experiences and feelings started to make sense. Maybe he wasn't strange or abnormal for wanting to embrace his feminine side. Plenty of other people felt the same way. Bert wrestled with whether to confide in his mom about his deepening desire to explore female gender expressions. Part of him suspected she might understand, given how she'd always treated him more like a daughter. But another part feared. She would be shocked or disappointed in him for not being a typical teenage boy. In the end, his desperation to open up and be accepted for who he really was won out. One evening, while his mom painted his toenails a cheery coral color, Bert took a deep breath and said, "Mom, I need to tell you something. I think I might be different from other boys. I don't feel comfortable always having to act macho and do guy stuff." His mother looked up from his foot, eyebrows raised. "What do you mean, sweetie? Different how?" Bert swallowed hard. "I really like a lot of girl things. Wearing makeup and dresses, talking about feelings, being sensitive and creative and pretty. I wish I could be more like that all the time, not just with you." His mom was silent for a long moment, and Bert's heart pounded wildly. Had he made a terrible mistake? Then she set down the nail polish, took his hands in hers, and smiled gently. "Oh, honey, is that all? You had me worried." She pulled him into a warm hug. Bert blinked back tears, overwhelmed with relief. "You're not mad or grossed out?" he mumbled into her shoulder. "Of course not." She held him at arm's length, face earnest and caring. "Bert, I love you exactly as you are, masculine, feminine, or anything in between. I just want you to be happy and true to yourself." She stroked his hair soothingly. "All these years, doing girl things together, I could tell how much you enjoyed it, how comfortable and confident you seemed when you could express that side of you. I've always had a hunch that you might be different, and that's perfectly okay." Bert sniffled, wiping his eyes. "Really? I was so scared to tell you. I thought you'd be disappointed that I don't want to be a macho guy like Dad or the other boys." "I could never be disappointed in you for being who you are. Man, woman, both, neither. I'll support you no matter what. I'm just sorry you felt you had to hide this part of yourself." His mom squeezed his hands reassuringly. "Bert, I have to confess something, too. As much as I love you as my son, part of me has always longed for a daughter as well. Someone to share fashion tips and girl talk with, to watch sappy movies and get mani-pedis together. And honestly, doing those things with you over the years has been wonderful. It's let me experience a little taste of having a daughter." Bert listened intently, eyes wide. His mother had never explicitly said it before, but he supposed her actions had implied as much. She smiled and continued. "So if you're telling me that you want to explore your feminine side more, I am 100% on board. I would love nothing more than to help you embrace that part of yourself, to let that beautiful, sensitive, creative spirit shine through." Bert felt like a weight had lifted off his chest. All this time, he'd been carrying around the secret fear that his interests and desires were strange and shameful. To hear his mother not only accept, but celebrate this side of him, it made him feel validated in a way he never had before. "You really mean that?" he asked, voice wobbly with emotion. "You'd be okay with me, I don't know, wearing dresses, experimenting with makeup and hair, maybe even using different pronouns sometimes?" His mom pulled him in for another hug. "Absolutely, 100%, no question," she said firmly. "I want you to feel free to explore and express your identity however feels right to you, and I'll be here to support you every single step of the way." She leaned back and tapped a finger to her chin, eyes sparkling. "In fact, I think this calls for a celebration. What do you say we have a full-on girls' day this weekend? Mani-pedis, face masks, new outfits, the works. We can pick out some cute clothes and accessories for you to start building your wardrobe. It'll be so much fun to help you transform." Bert couldn't help but bounce excitedly at the idea. "Really? That sounds amazing!" Just picturing himself openly and confidently wearing all the pretty, feminine things he'd been eyeing for years filled him with joy. Then a thought occurred to him, and his face fell slightly. "But what about Dad and the kids at school? I'm definitely not ready for them to know about this yet." His mom waved a hand dismissively. "Your father is away so much he'll hardly even notice any gradual changes. And there's no rule saying you have to share this with anyone at school until you feel completely comfortable. You can ease into it at your own pace. The only people who need to know right now are you and me." Bert pondered this, then nodded slowly. "Yeah, I guess you're right. I shouldn't feel pressured to come out to everyone immediately. I can just experiment and find what makes me happy first." "Exactly." His mom booped him playfully on the nose. "This is your journey, and you get to walk it however you choose. Just know that I'll be right beside you the whole way, cheering you on." Bert felt so lucky in that moment he thought his heart might burst. Here he'd been fretting for ages about his identity, terrified of rejection, only to have his mom embrace him with open arms. He knew not everyone was so fortunate. To be accepted and supported unconditionally, it was an extraordinary gift. "I love you so much, Mom," Bert said, voice choked with tears. "Thank you for being so amazing about all this." "I love you too, sweetie. More than anything." His mom dabbed at her own misty eyes, then clapped her hands together briskly. "Now, what do you say we start brainstorming ideas for our Big Girls' Day? I'm thinking we hit the mall for some shopping, swing by the beauty supply store to stock up on products, then come home for a night of rom-coms and wine. Well, sparkling cider for you." Bert giggled, feeling almost giddy at the thought of getting to indulge all his girly inclinations so openly. "That sounds perfect. I can't wait." The two stayed up late into the night, scrolling through online boutiques and compiling a wish list of cute dresses, skirts, blouses, and accessories for Bert to try. His mom showed him YouTube tutorials on different makeup looks and hairstyles, demonstrating a few techniques on him directly. By the time Bert finally climbed into bed, head spinning with visions of lace and ruffles, his cheeks hurt from smiling so much. For the first time, he felt a thrill of excitement and hope for the future, secure in the knowledge that he had a fiercely loving ally in his mom. The rest of the week seemed to drag by, minutes turning to molasses as Bert counted down to the weekend. Sitting in class, half listening to his teachers drone on about algebra and American history, all he could think about was his impending girls' day with his mom. He sketched outfit ideas in the margins of his notebook, imagining how good it would feel to step out in public wearing clothes that actually matched his inner self. When Saturday finally rolled around, Bert woke at the crack of dawn, too excited to sleep any longer. He jumped out of bed and immediately started rifling through his closet, trying to put together the most feminine ensemble he could with his current options. He settled on his slimmest-fitting jeans, a soft pink V-neck tee, and a purple zip-up hoodie. It wasn't a dress or skirt, but the colors and cut were at least a step in the feminine direction. Bert was just finishing up his morning skincare routine, another traditionally girly habit his mom had gotten him into, when she knocked at his bedroom door. "Rise and shine! You ready for our big day?" she called out cheerily. Bert swung open the door with a grin. "I've been ready for this day my whole life." His mom laughed and linked her elbow through his. "Well then, let's get this show on the road. I figured we could start at the mall, then hit up a few boutiques downtown and cap it off with a visit to Sephora. How does that sound?" "Like a dream come true," Bert said honestly. He felt almost dizzy at the prospect of so wholly immersing himself in the world of femininity he'd longed to be part of for so long. As they drove to the mall, windows down and radio blasting upbeat pop tunes, Bert's leg bounced with nervous anticipation. He'd shopped with his mom countless times before, but this was different. This time, he wouldn't just be longingly eyeing cute skirts and dresses on the racks. He'd actually get to try them on, to pick some out to take home and wear whenever he wanted. It was surreal. When they arrived, Bert's mom steered them straight to a trendy-looking boutique, all pink and glitter in the window displays. Bert had often gazed wistfully into this store in the past, admiring the mannequins decked out in stylish feminine attire. Now his mom was leading him right through the front doors, a woman on a mission. "Okay, let's start with some basics," she declared, already flicking through the racks with an expert eye. "Every girl needs a good little black dress, a couple of nice blouses, a cardigan or two, some statement jewelry." Bert watched in awe as a pile of garments quickly stacked up on his mom's arm. He tentatively reached out to stroke a gauzy floral print dress, marveling at the delicate fabric beneath his fingertips. To think that in just a few minutes, he could be wearing that very dress. His mom caught him eyeing it and beamed. "Gorgeous, isn't it? Just your size, too. Go on, add it to the try-on pile." Emboldened, Bert began selecting items himself, gravitating towards soft pastels, lace accents, and flowing silhouettes. Within minutes, he had an armload of clothes to bring into the fitting room. Bert's heart pounded as he stripped down to his underwear, plain cotton boxer briefs. He made a mental note to pick up some cuter, girlier undies while they were out. Then, hands trembling slightly, he reached for the first dress. The sensation of slippery satin against his bare skin made Bert shiver with delight. He had worn dresses before, but always in the secrecy of his room with the door locked, terrified of discovery. To be doing this openly, with his mom's enthusiastic encouragement, felt so liberating. Bert gazed at his reflection, hardly able to believe the image looking back at him. The knee-length A-line dress in a warm rose hue seemed to give his slender figure gentle curves in all the right places. He tentatively did a little twirl, giggling at the way the flared skirt fluttered around his freshly shaved legs. He had never felt so pretty in his entire life. A soft knock at the fitting room door stirred Bert from his reverie. "How's it going in there, sweetie? Come on out, I want to see." His mom sounded almost as excited as he felt. Bert took a deep breath and stepped out into the main area of the boutique where his mom was waiting. When she saw him, she clasped her hands to her heart, eyes shining with pride and adoration. "Oh, Bert, you look absolutely stunning," she said in an awed voice. "That dress was made for you, so feminine, so elegant. How do you feel?" Bert did another twirl, unable to keep the broad smile off his face. "I feel incredible. Like this is how I was always meant to look. Like me." His mom pulled him into a tight hug. "My beautiful girl," she murmured into his hair. "I'm so happy you're getting to express your true self." Bert felt tears spring to his eyes at her words. He had spent so long thinking of his feminine side with trepidation, pushing it down out of fear and shame. But his mom saw that part of him as something to celebrate and rejoice. He knew he still had a long journey ahead in terms of self-discovery and coming out to others. But he also knew he wouldn't be taking a single step of it alone. The two spent hours flitting from store to store, gradually accumulating more and more bags of gorgeous girly clothes and accessories. Bert was hesitant about the cost of it all, but his mom insisted this was a special occasion that warranted splurging. By mid-afternoon, the back of their car looked like the wardrobe department for a fashion show. As the day went on, Bert found himself opening up to his mom more and more about his lifelong yearnings to embrace femininity. Everything from his childhood fascination with princesses, to his secret stash of cosmopolitan magazines, to his furtive experiments with crossdressing. Things he had previously guarded as his deepest, darkest secrets now came spilling out into the open, met only with understanding and compassion from his mother. "I wish you had felt safe confiding in me about this sooner," she said as they shared a plate of cinnamon sugar pretzel bites during a break in their shopping. "But I understand why you didn't. I'm just glad you know now that you can tell me anything." "Me too." Bert dunked a pretzel bite in the accompanying vanilla frosting, savoring the sweet richness on his tongue. The old Bert would have shied away from such an indulgent treat, too worried about seeming unmanly. But the new Bert relished small pleasures unapologetically. It's such a relief not to carry it all alone anymore. When it came time for their final stop of the day at Sephora, Bert felt a swell of anxiety in his chest. Trying on clothes in the privacy of a fitting room was one thing. Browsing the brightly lit cosmetics aisles in full view of other shoppers felt like another level entirely. As if sensing his hesitation, his mom gave his hand a reassuring squeeze. "We don't have to go in if you're not ready," she said gently. "There's no rush." But Bert thought of all the other daunting steps he'd taken today, from picking out panties to getting his ears pierced. Each one had filled him with trepidation at first, only to leave him feeling twice as confident and sure of himself afterwards. He couldn't wimp out now, not when he'd already come so far.
"No, I want to do this,"
he said with conviction, standing up a little straighter.
"I'm done hiding and worrying what people think. It's time to be brave."
His mom smiled at him with unmistakable pride in her eyes. "That's my girl. Let's go get you a killer makeup haul." An hour later, they emerged with a bag full of foundation, blush, eyeshadow palettes, brushes, and half a dozen different lipstick and gloss shades. The woman at the checkout had called Bert Miss, sending a secret thrill down his spine. As they drove home, Bert leaned his head back against the seat and sighed contentedly. He felt like he'd shed an old, too-tight skin today and emerged as someone freer, truer, more authentically himself. He knew the road ahead wouldn't always be smooth. There would be difficult conversations to have, funny looks and snide remarks to endure, a whole host of challenges to navigate. But for now, he was basking in this pivotal first step. How lucky was he to be able to step into that role and make both of their dreams come true? Thanks for watching. Check out Patreon if you want to have early access to the other parts. If not, it will be online in a couple of days.